And we are live back for another edition of a Lakers snack pack. It is just a little after 6 o'clock here in the East Coast. I am your host, MagicMan, aka Sean Grice. Welcome everybody into this late afternoon, early evening edition of the Lakers snack pack. I want to welcome everybody in and thank you for joining us again. Wow. So, just a few thoughts permeating through my brain right now. Obviously, would have been nice to close out the game on Wednesday. Hey, Daniel, nice to see you back. Yep. Hopefully, they can close out Friday because yesterday was not good. Just a few loose ends. I'm sure it was brought up by Joe and Gerald and every one of our subscribers that uh, Ham had a chance to put his hands around the game. Took out AD. After he took out AD, Jenkins grabbed that opportunity, put his hands all over the game. His imprint was all over the middle of the third quarter and in the fourth, and that was all she wrote. Hopefully, will lead to a better result on Friday. LeBron did not play well. Um, Probably one of the 10 worst playoff games he's ever had in his career. So just chalk it up to just a bad game. He'll come back stronger, and hopefully the Lakers will secure a victory. But we'll have more on that tomorrow with another preview, courtesy of the snack pack. But for right now, it's just some loose thoughts. And, 3-2, I still feel pretty good about that. I really do. At some point in time, this was inevitable within the series. I mean, everybody had either the Lakers winning in 6 or 7. A lot of our colleagues, courtside Lakers, Henry had the Lakers at 6. Um, I believe, I believe Tom also had the Lakers at 6. Jamie had the Lakers at 6. There were a lot of predictions scurrying a bit that eventually the Lakers would win 2 in a row here. So hopefully they do. I'd love to just see us take a break for a little bit while the Warriors of Sacramento kill themselves, because that was something else as well. But first, let's discuss what happened last night in Milwaukee. And I listened to what Giannis had to say along with everybody else, and it was just a case where, yeah, he probably wasn't 100%, but everybody has injuries at this point of the year. The Heat didn't have Tyler Hero, and unfortunately, I don't think the Heat are going to last too long against the Knicks because Bam Adebayo is, I think, on just like one healthy hamstring. Like he's not 100% either. So don't give me this crap about how injuries played a part with the Bucks. The Heat were dealing with injuries too. As I welcome in my great friend and fellow colleague for the Lakers Fast Break, Nick Molina. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Sean. I hope everything's all right. What are we snacking on today? Apologies, by the way, for my reception. I am in kind of in an iffy situation right now, but hoping we could talk some ball for a few minutes.
Sure, man. Yeah, I'll try and make it very quick. By the way, you sound very good wherever you are. So
Okay.
thank you very
Okay.
much.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just talking about some loose ends about last night, Nick. It just kind of felt that Ham had a chance to put his hands around the game, but he took AD out, and that's when Jenkins decided he's going to put his hands all over the game, and his imprint was on it, and Ham just couldn't recover. Man, I love the fact that you sent that tweet by Kevin O'Connor, which was spot on. So
Yeah, Sean. I think. I mean, like, I don't want to, and I think when losses happen, right, this is a team sport, and I think everybody from the coaching staff to the players shares some responsibility, right, in a result. This isn't marathon running where you're running by yourself, or even a boxing match where you're like boxing a single opponent. This is a team sport. That said, I do have to emphasize, even though I'm one of his biggest fans, and I think he is uh, most likely the greatest basketball player to ever play. LeBron James just had a very, very underwhelming performance. I'm not sure if that performance is due to age. I'm not sure if it's due to fatigue. Age and fatigue are not the same thing, although they are in some way correlated. I do think he's focused. I do think he wants to win, but again, I'm not sure if his body is giving him enough feedback at this point.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. I agree, and this is just the case of a high performance athlete. Just he can't kick it up like he could when he was 28. Man, and a lot of guys like he prepares differently and he recovers differently. We understand that, but yeah, it just seems that even at 38 you're still you're not immune to the vicissitudes of lethargy or being tired against younger, more uh just hey man, it's just a known fact, right? Like a 26-year-old just has more testosterone than a 38-year-old. It's just the way it is. That's evolution.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Sean. And it's kind of I wouldn't say infuriating, right? Because we're all going the same way, right? We're humans are meant to age and eventually, phase out. Um, but at the same time, it is a disheartening and sad to see, a player like LeBron, not producing as much as he did even a year or two ago. Again, I'm hoping this is an anomaly, and the rest of the playoffs he's able to give us some of those vintage performances and all of that. I'm seeing Zangerstein's comments here about LeBron playing center and all of that, and how the critiques to him. I could definitely agree with all of that. In fact, one question that I had for you, Sean, is that we're obviously playing AD primarily at center, and we do not have a true backup center at this point, and we haven't played one basically all season, to be honest, not just the playoffs. How sustainable do you think that is to not have a backup center? I know we have people like Tristan Thompson, people like Mo Bamba who have not gotten minutes. Wenyan plays in spurts in as a small ball center, but how sustainable is it to not have a true backup center?
you know what? That's a great question, Nick. I would say this. I think that it's sustainable to a point. However, I think, the longer and the more games they play and the longer this playoffs go on, it's going to become a situation where they're they're not going to be able to recover or spell whatever fit they had, because it's gonna bite us at some point. It's a matter of probabilities to me more than anything else. Going to be very interesting to see like where that happens. But you're right, Nick. There, unfortunately, it's baked into the cake now that there's probably not going to be a true backup center. So it looks like Ham's going to just keep trying to get away with playing LeBron, and uh, maybe he maybe he lets down his guard a little bit and plays Rui there again. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. But yeah, we definitely need to address that in the off season. No question about it.
Right. Yeah, that definitely is a hole that needs to be filled. Funny enough, we all thought that hole was somewhat filled with the incorporation of Mo Bamba. Obviously, that hasn't been the case. I know Mo Bamba has a lot of deficiencies in his game, motor being one of them, lateral movement. That said, I'm still a bit mystified, befuddled, to be honest. Like, why Mo Bamba does not seem to even get, maybe 3, 4 minutes, like just throw him in there. It's a big body, catch a couple rebounds, hopefully get a block, maybe stretch the floor and get a three. I don't know why Ham, for lack of a better term, why does Ham hate Mo Bamba?
Yeah, you know what, Nick? I think honestly, I think this is just. I think it's. Let's be honest. Like certain, there are certain biases that certain in supervisors, so to speak, let's say, have for other employees than the quality that it probably should be. I think that for whatever reason, Mo Bamba isn't Coach Ham's cup of tea. Even though you made all those good points about how somehow his physical profile fits into Ham's like philosophy, but it doesn't translate on the court. It's almost what Gerald talks about, the theory of Mo Bamba is better than the actual practical seeing him like in action, like the theory that he's this long uh, shooting, blocking prowess, can hit a three. It's not it's not at a consistent level where he's able to balance all of them like together. So I think it's a combination of he's not a Ham's guy, and Ham doesn't want to give him the opportunity to kind of prove himself like he did with Rui.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, Sean. Yeah, I guess where I'm at is, and to be completely clear, I don't think Mo Bamba is the answer to our issues. All I'm saying is that if I'm going to choose between Wayne and Gabriel to play a few minutes at center or Mo Bamba, I think I'm going for the guy that's bigger, that could potentially shoot, even though he does have, the motor deficiencies and all the other holes in his game that we've talked about. Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, choosing between, a banana that's unripe and a banana that's probably a little bit more ripe. Like, I'd rather have the banana that's a little bit more ripe.
Yes, you would rather have a banana that's ripe, 100%, 100%. And you got to check for tarantulas in them too, right? Shout out to Harry Belafonte, passed away. That was a great song. Um,
Rest in peace to Belafonte.
Rich,
Yes, and shout outs to the PMC, Petty My Cat, Search and Destroy, Ganderstein. They're the
everybody,
OGs.
OG's original, and they came out to support us. Thank you guys so much. So Nick, before we head on out, I just wanted to get your thoughts on what happened last night to the Milwaukee Bucks, because I was talking with Gerald, about a week and a half ago, just before the playoffs were starting, and we were still in the play-in phase, and he did not have any confidence whatsoever that Miami or anybody else would be able to give one of the Bucks or Celtics fits. Now tonight we're seeing that the Celtics, the pressure's on them, man. If they don't close out the Hawks, then we're going back to Boston for a game seven. And we saw last night that Milwaukee the Heat were just a better team, man. And surprisingly, Coach Bud did not put Giannis on Jimmy Butler. Maybe the back was an issue, but honestly, Nick, for all the excuses that the analysts and some of the Bucks fans are giving for their performance, the fact is Miami's got injuries too. Hero's out, Depot's out, Bam Adebayo is playing on one hamstring. So Miami took care of business, man. And what did you think of Giannis's response to a poorly worded question?
Yeah, Sean, and I'm glad you brought up this subject because I think it's a subject that the mainstream media at least hasn't given enough attention to. let's call a spade a spade. What happened to the Milwaukee Bucks getting beat in 5 games by an also injured Miami Heat? I mean, it's nothing short of a catastrophic failure, right? I mean, especially given the pedigree of players that the Bucks have. I mean, it's just inexcusable. I actually think it's it's obviously on the players, but you also have to lay some responsibility, some a heavy dosage of responsibility on the coaching staff by Milwaukee. I mean, you could lose games for sure, but to lose against Miami, what were they seeded eighth, I believe? Yeah, and so um, I don't. I don't understand how they're able to lose in 5 games against an eighth seed. A season's worth of wins that Milwaukee was able to accumulate is just like now gone down to the drain. And yeah, and I actually have to recognize too, Magic Man. Jimmy Butler knows how to turn it on in the playoffs. I mean, the guy is a playoff monster. And he's nothing short of, to use your term and to use a PG term, right? The guy has some onions.
Oh yeah, for sure, Nick. Yeah, 100%. But one of the most interesting stats about Jimmy Butler's career so far with the Heat is the following. In 231 career regular season games, Jimmy Butler has exactly 0 40-pointers. In 47 playoff games for the Miami Heat, he's got 8 40-plus games. So this guy averages at least 1 40-point performance in a 6 game series. Um, I'm really excited about the Heat and the Knicks matchup, Nick. This is old school NBA rivalry. I consider this a top 5 NBA rivalry right now. Even though they haven't played in about 10 years, and before that, it was about 10 years before then too. But their history goes back like to the late 90s. So they played each other 4 straight years: 97, 98, 99, 2000. A lot of playoff battles and memories. Um, they've played each other 5 times in the playoffs, Nick. And in 4 of the 5 series, it's gone the distance. 2 7-game series, 2 5-game series. To me, this feels like a 7 game series. I'm not doubting Jimmy Butler, even in Madison Square Garden. So I think I give the edge to the Heat just a little bit. But this goes back to like old school Heat Nick basketball where it's physical. Jalen Brunson is the best player on the Knicks. He has a physical profile. You could say the same thing about Jimmy B. So this to me is like a very throwback kind of series. Nick, what are your thoughts on it?
I agree, Sean. It's going to be a dogfight. There's probably going to be hopefully not, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a baby version of Malice at the Palace. Uh, bringing back some gritty basketball. Where you know we all want to see maybe some elbows being thrown a little bit. Just make it a little bit more spicy. And the Heat could certainly bring the heat and make that a very long series for the Knicks. Actually, with that said, Sean, do you think that Hawks continue to extend this series tonight?
You know what, Nick? I think that the second quarter, when the Hawks bench enters the game, I think is critical. I think if the Hawks bench doesn't need to go cuckoo bananas again, like they did in game two, I believe. But they definitely need to, or game three, excuse me, they definitely need to have a really good start and help lift up the Hawks because something tells me Boston's really going to just want to finish them off right away. So I think if the bench plays well at home, I think it'll lead to some serious nail kneading by the Celtics and their fans. I, f- as much as it pains me to say, man, I think they close it out tonight. But I'm rooting for Ice Tray. I really am.
Yeah, I see you, Sean. So basically, your mind is saying Boston, but your heart is saying the Hawks.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. We never know what could happen. I mean, Trey Young, he definitely played inspired the last game, and he had a moment of brilliance. And it might be a situation where they're able to squeeze one out. But the wings, this is a game of wings, and you have people like Tatum and Jalen Brown that they're just so talented. Their size, their length, right, their wingspan, and it's just going to be tough for the Hawks. But hopefully they extend it to 7, and who knows, miracles do happen.
Yeah, no, they do, they do, and add in the fact that you can throw in either a Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart out there. They've got a lot of dogs uh, on chains that can be unleashed. So
Oh yeah, I like that analogy, Sean. Dogs on chain. Yeah, I just pictured a kennel of rabid dogs just waiting to come out.
yeah, that's kind of the way they play defensively. So we're gonna see Nick, but again, I'm rooting for the Knicks. But Nick, I'm rooting for the Hawks with Trey. You can't doubt playoff Trey either. Same thing with playoff Jimmy. There's just something about playoff Trey. He comes out. Um, as we move on to another series preview, Nick, I want to get your initial thoughts on what you see coming down the pike with the Nuggets and the Suns, and I'll give you just a brief rundown of their playoff history. It's very weak. They played twice in the 80s. Each team popped the other, but this was pre 2003, where actually first round series were not even 5 games, they were just 3 games. So if we're going to look at just some modern matchups, the last 2 times they played each other, Nick, the Suns have swept the Nuggets both times. In '89, they swept them in 3 straight, and we saw it in 2021 as Phoenix was on their way to the finals. They swept the Nuggets. So, how do you see this series unfolding, man? Who do you favor? Do you think the Nuggets have just a little bit more depth, or do you think it's pretty even as far as a 7-8 man rotation?
Yeah, Sean. So I'm actually very appreciative that you went over through the history between those teams, and also in terms of the players that are on both rosters. And so that said, if I was to pick a team to prevail in this series, I'm going with a team that has the player that has historically performed well in the playoffs, and that is Kevin Durant, right? So I have to go with the Phoenix Suns here. It's more of a would I be surprised if the Nuggets win this series? No, but again, Kevin Durant, is a super talented player. He's still, you know, extremely productive and efficient, and you can't count him out in a playoff series. I think he still has a lot to prove, and so yeah, I would have to go with the Suns in this one because again, I'm going with the team that has the player that has historically proven himself in a deep playoff run, and that is Kevin Durant.
All right, man. Yeah, again, I kind of see this as going the distance again. Like I kind of see it as a 7 game series. Um, to me, the one of the advantages the Nuggets have is that they're going. I think if they can extend the series and just keep KD working on both ends, which would be the key, then you have to um, pick your spots with him because there are a number of guys who can defend him. Right, I'm going to be very interested. They're likely going to start Aaron Gordon on him, only because I think there's going to be a priority for KCP to be on book. And, KCP has a lot of length. So he's going to be able to really bother Booker. I think that's the key to me is that if you can contain KD and let him go off for 35 or 40 and you keep Booker in check, I think the Nuggets give themselves an opportunity because it Phoenix's front court is at a real disadvantage here, right? The Nuggets have MPJ, they have Jokic, they have Aaron Gordon, plus you could throw Jeff Green off the bench as well. They have a lot of length and a lot of different malleability uh, to defend the Suns. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do it well, right? Because, as you said, Nick, the Suns have KD, the most forceful offensive player in NBA history. So he's going to be able to get what he wants. But I think in the end, it's just going to come down to can Phoenix overcome their lack of depth? Because I don't think the
Mhm.
Nuggets' depth necessarily helps them against the Suns. They do have the Brown brothers, Christian Brown and Bruce, but after that, you really only have Jeff Green off the bench. Whereas, the Suns can manage, I think, with Biombo and Jock Landell, along with Torrey Craig. So to me, I don't think there's a huge gap in terms of the depth as opposed to what they dealt with the Clippers. So I'm going a 7 game series, Nick, and I think the Nuggets just pull it out 4-3.
Yeah, Sean, I lean towards the Phoenix Suns. I do think that it's going to go to distance. It's going to be a tough series. I think it's going to be another dogfight. But yeah, I would not be surprised if the Nuggets are able to eventually emerge victorious.
Yeah, and shout out to everybody bring up Thomas Bryant. Yep. I think I think Bryant could help the Nuggets, but again, for some reason, similar to Darvin Ham and Mobamba, Michael Malone has just made it known that Thomas Bryant is in his doghouse for whatever reason, and it's disappointing because they at some point in time in the series they're going to need that fourth big to come in because one of Jokic, MPJ, or Aaron Gordon are going to get in trouble. Um, that's an interesting point. Good on a group for pointing it out. Um, so Nick, how do you see as we slowly move towards the end of the snack? How do you see the next game unfolding for the Kings against the Warriors? What adjustments do you think they have to make? Because the Warriors finally won a game on the road, and Gerald and myself were wondering if they could even do that. So they did. Do you think Golden State closes it out at home?
You know what, Sean? I do, and I assume that Draymond is going to continue to come off the bench for them. I think that just we know that with the Keens and Mike Brown being there, they obviously know the Warrior system is extremely well. That said, I do think that ultimately talent is on the side of the Warriors. They have a generational player like Steph Curry that will continue to thrive. They have Klay Thompson. They have Jordan Poole who could get the pool party going. They have Draymond Green. They have like Kevon Looney, who is tough as nails and has a motor the size of a 727 jetliner. So yeah, I do think that the Warriors eventually are going to win.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just to me, I think it was just going to come a point in time where we were going to see the there will be Clay. He's eventually going to have an outburst. He had one last night. Um, championship medal comes through in the end. Um, I will say I think that if Sacramento can find a way to either get Steph or Clay in foul trouble, uh, that would make the task a little easier. But for some reason, you're at home, you're up 3-2. Something tells me there's going to just be an extra gear in the Splash Brothers. I think they're going to be able to beat them. You know.
Yeah, Sean. I mean, the Splash Brothers know that the twilight of their reign is coming to a close, and I think that that is just some added motivation to make sure that they make a good showing in these playoffs. But yeah, I think that the Warriors eventually win, Sean.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. As we move on, Nick, before we head out, I just want to give a happy birthday to Iceman George Gervin. He turned 71. George Gervin has the coolest NBA poster of all time, sitting on the blocks of ice with the balls. Um, the two greatest athletes and men who managed to help kind of merge the ABA and NBA without getting in the dust up was George Gervin and Dr. J. Um, both humble men, both great ambassadors for the game, and I just wanted to give a shout out and a happy birthday to the Iceman.
Shout outs to George Gervin, Sean. Very well said. And yeah, thanks again. I want to say shout outs to everybody in the chat, everyone from Petty My Cat, Adam, Hurley, Hudson Lane 87, Zangerstein, of course, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. And obviously, a big shout outs to you, Sean. When I said that Kevin Looney had the motor the size of a 727 jetliner, that obviously also applies to you. So big shout outs to Sean the Magic Man for always putting in the work for the Lakers Fast Break. And I'll catch you next time, Sean. Thanks again for hosting.